Okay, this video is about two things plus a prediction at the end. One of the things is the home price index for June. And the first up though, I got an email from a friend who lives abroad in the UK. And I wanted to talk about the idea where most people, or some people, are experts in some things. That's kind of normal. But don't you think that everybody thinks that they're experts in property? Yours truly? Actually, I never claimed that. Definitely not financial advice, just my opinion. And opinions only, all the time. However, granted, I am not pulling them out of thin air. There are bases to them. Okay, so he sends me the link, says a latest episode, Alan Kohler, says property market is bottoming. Now, how many times have we heard property is bottoming? It found the bottom. I mean, it's the new catchphrase. He goes on to say, don't miss your opportunity to buy a property. Now, a little detail that he knows about, I have property. But anyway, let's not worry about that. He's saying just buy more. And then more unsolicited advice coming up. Then I go on to remind him to say, I have property already. He says, yeah, but I mean to buy one for yourself to live in an area you would like to live in. So I reply, I already live in an area I love to live in. And then more nonsense and advice. All I'm saying is that I don't think the crash you were hoping for is going to eventuate, as they are already going back up, and so it might be the last chance to get in. Have we heard that before? FOMO, fear of missing out, is setting in already. So what is the current psychology of the people, especially my friend who sent me those messages, which kind of rose my blood pressure a little bit because, it's the last chance. You better get in because they're going back up. Okay, so I've said this before. The real estate prices have gone up for decades, up and up and up, and they quadrupled and so much more in that amount of time. And then they pulled back in Sydney, right? 14.9% down. Melbourne, 10.9% down. Darwin, 30% down. Capitals, so altogether it's 10%. And we got Canberra. This was only, from peak. And it's gone down only about 1%. In any case, the most important markets, arguably and really truly, Sydney and Melbourne. So let's see what my friend is actually basing his prediction on. Apart from one single podcast by Alan Kohler, saying that we are near the bottom, if not there already. What a joke, in my opinion.
The midwinter thaw in property prices, why Sydney and Melbourne have risen for the first time in 2 years. At or near the bottom, that's the call for house prices in Sydney and Melbourne. After a rocket ride to 2017, prices have been in rapid retreat, and they still are in some capitals. But the easing of lending rules, an interest rate cut, and the federal election taking potential changes to negative gearing off the table have all seen prices in the two biggest cities rise for the first time since 2017. But buyers are warned, don't expect a big rebound anytime soon. Daniel Ziffer reports.
If buying a house is your Australian dream, you might want to press snooze on the alarm. It all depends on where you live, with new data suggesting recent years of price slumps are turning around.
Housing values aren't falling anywhere near as fast as what they used to be, but in two markets, Australia's two largest cities, in Sydney and Melbourne, we've seen values actually rise quite slightly for the first time since they peaked out back in 2017.
Take out Melbourne, Sydney and Hobart, and prices keep slipping. CoreLogic's June Home Value Index fell 0.2% nationally, with the capitals overall down 0.1%. The prices of houses in regional markets down almost 0.5%, and those were the figures for last month. Just look at where house prices have fallen from their peak. Double-digit drops in many of the capitals. The major cities are magnets for jobs. And with a median house price of $800,000 in Melbourne and more than $1 million in Sydney, you'll need one to get that deposit together.
we are seeing Sydney and Melbourne really pushing this improving trend, it also comes back to these are the two cities where economic conditions are the strongest, where unemployment is the lowest, where jobs growth has been the highest.
Last month's interest rate cut and changes to mortgage requirements, lowering the bar for potential borrowers, might have helped more people get into the market. But the cremation of any potential changes to negative gearing, which was proposed by the Labor Party at the last election, means that investors have cleared a hurdle there too.
Sydney and Melbourne are obviously, they led the way down and they're going to lead the way back. You know, we've seen also the auction clearance rates have been improved in the last couple of months as well. So there's clearly more interest in the market. But fundamentally, Melbourne and Sydney are still very unaffordable cities.
Nikki Hutley expects a plateau in prices after soaring for a decade, locking huge swathes of the population out of buying their own home.
In terms of average affordability, the falls that we've seen over the last 18 months or so have not addressed what is a very, very significant economic and long-term social problem for Australians.
Having cut interest rates last month, the Reserve Bank has telegraphed that it will make another cut this year. While the majority of major bank economists predict it will occur at tomorrow's meeting of the board, Merrick's Capital's Fiona Clark expects the central bank to keep rates on hold for now.
And there are quite a few risks that the RBA would be considering, and one of those is the efficiency of those rate cuts. What will they achieve? I think it's concerned that they might be limited in terms of the impact that they will have in the economy.
While borrowers would benefit from a cut to interest rates, provided banks passed it on rather than protecting their margins, any cut would hit savers, already suffering low returns. And having cooled the rocket rise of house prices, the Reserve Bank doesn't want to pour petrol on it by making it easier to borrow for ever-increasing loans.
Some people have raised a concern about what it will mean for the housing market. Will it stimulate price growth again? And I think the RBA would be concerned about reigniting any house price appreciation.
I think I'm going to leave it there for the next video. Until then, take care.